Greetings, this is Darcy and Scotty sharing an astrological horoscope for February 18, 2019. I'd like to show you planetwatcher.com to show the transit wheel, which I think is a fun way to look at the planets instead of my face. All right, screen share. Okay, I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can look at both if you like. So right now the moon is in Leo. I have moon in Leo, so I like to shine through my emotional body, self-expression. Moon in Leo is great because it's luminary. Leo rules the sun, and the moon is a luminary as well, because they're the two brightest stars in our solar system. And technically, the moon's not a star, but they're called luminaries. The moon is the closest body to the Earth, and it reflects the light of the sun. So there is an affinity with Leo and the moon, I believe. And so let's see if I can get some annotations. Yeah, I like to draw circles so you can kind of follow the aspects that I'm talking about. So let's see what the moon is doing. There we go. So there's a grand fire trine, which is wonderful. Fire is creativity, inspiration, passion. So the moon in Leo 23, Leo is has been trining Jupiter in Sagittarius, 20 degrees, and it's approaching Uranus or Uranus. I like to say Uranus. Uranus, it's the ancient god, I believe, and Aries. And this grand trine is wonderful. I think it's passion, because the moon in Leo wants self-expression, wants, Leo has an ego, and I always say that it can be a healthy ego. It can be, because it's the inner, Leo's like fifth house is play, hobbies, the inner child, creativity, art, hobbies. So with the moon here, it's because the moon is ruled by Cancer, and Cancer is also kind of the inner child energy and about nurturing. So to me, this Leo fire wants us to express this inner sensitivity playfully, because our emotions are very delicate things, and but with Leo, it wants to kind of just because Leo rules acting and movies to a certain extent, and yeah, I think it's great. It's helped us to express, because if we repress, I like to say the mantra, whatever resistance is persistence. It's kind of simple way, but there is much depth to that in multi-dimensional ways. There's an Indian proverb: the tighter we squeeze, the less we have. But the more we open, the more we can receive. So just in general, it's very good to express our emotions, because when we do that, we can find out our desires, we can find out relationships to others. And there is a very, with Jupiter and Uranus, that's very, those are two outer planets. So it's kind of extremely expansive. Jupiter wants everything to expand. Uranus wants everything to transform or evolve. So this energy really is asking us to explore and express in very general terms. So I see a lot of quincunxes to the moon, which is interesting. Quincunx, also called inconjunct, I believe. It means, a key word for that is adjustment. Because it's two energies, two planets that do things in different ways and are kind of awkward. That's kind of how I see it. So like, for example, the moon in Leo quincunxing all this Capricorn stellium. Leo wants to express, Leo wants to indulge ourself, because Leo's self. It's after Cancer, which is kind of like the inner world, emotional world. Leo is kind of wants that inner world to be put on the stage like an actor or a movie. But Capricorn is more about duty and responsibility. Capricorn is less about our expressing our individual and more about expressing the group's needs. That could also be considered Aquarius, but with especially Venus conjunct Saturn right now, approaching Pluto, that's very, very much a review of our inner world with Venus in terms of how we individually relate to our needs with the collective needs. Because Venus is, the inner world. In a different sense than the moon, it's more about our desires, how we self-love, and how we have love or expression with others. Conjuncting Saturn now people quite often say that's a detriment because Saturn is kind of restricting and Venus generally wants to kind of express, wants to kind of bond, where Saturn kind of wants to kind of have things more controlled. But this could be seen in other ways. This could be a way for, I see it often, my workplace at a health food store. There's a lot of Venusian energy there with, plants and many people, relationships. And I see that when the Venus energy is in a Capricornian business, which was ruled by Capricorn, it allows the rules and that kind of cold, calculated, efficient Capricorn nature to be softened and allows us just to kind of so Capricorn kind of has the structure, and then it allows Venus to explore. I can probably put that in other ways, but in any case, so this Capricorn stellium is sextiling Neptune, so that's adding a very spiritual, and Mercury is conjuncting Neptune, which is extremely mystical. Neptune is very mystical, but quite often we don't see it because it's so far out in the solar system that the archetype of it is like a dream. When we're asleep, are we aware when we wake up? Neptune rules the dream world. But with Mercury there, Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, and it's arguably the most direct energy to us in terms of it rules our mind. And the mind is the thing that which is pretty much the most, that's how we communicate in the first place. So with the Mercury and Neptune, I think it's bringing this dream world to our conscious mind. And sextiling Venus and Saturn and Pluto is allowing us to see the spirituality in every day. And I have my sun in Pisces and progressed Mercury, and I really see that the spiritual world is actually here all the time. It's just invisible, but it's there for the ears to hear and the subtle senses and the empathy. So perhaps this energy will allow us to explore the spiritual dimensions. But Neptune and Mercury are also quincunxing the moon, which is an adjustment required because the spiritual world is sometimes at odds with our ego or our Leo expressive nature, because quite often we see our ego self needs are not always visible, or you could say in some of the spiritual realms they say there's an ego denying quality or ego transcending, and that's kind of the quincunx part, because there is many ways to look at it, of course, and this is a very general approach, but quite often with Neptune In Pisces, there's sense of martyrdom where we see that our individual, if we just indulge in our ego with narcissism, which is rampant in society, we lose our society, we lose our spiritual nature quite often. There's a movie, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a quote that says, if might is right, there's no place for love in the world. It's a movie based on a Jesuit Christians in South America. Yeah, I can't remember the name, but anyway, it's about a missionary who goes to South America, and they see he's very, very spiritual, but he meets people who are somewhat, wanting money and greed and basically fame, which you could see as Leo, and also Capricorn, which would be the money. Venus rules money. If might is right, there's no place for love in the world. That quote really, really stuck and rung home with me, because might, right, is all about power, which is Pluto. And I think the moral of that statement was that if the ends justify the means, which is basically a massive part of this patriarchy, which is like the bottom line is most important. Money is the most important thing. The economy is the most important thing. It doesn't matter about well-being. Neptune wants us to see what unconditional love is all about, which is very, very transcendental. It's very different than lustful love, which you could see as a lower or a more earthly nature of Venus. So that's actually, that's a finger of God, I believe, aspect, because there's two quincunxes from the moon in Leo, quincunxing Venus, Pluto actually, closer to Pluto, and quincunxing Neptune. Yeah, it's kind of a loose aspect, but that's just, part of that discussion. So anyway, I'll move on. Chiron just entered Aries today, and it's staying there. For last year, it went back and forth into Pisces, and this is a massive transit. Chiron's the wounded healer, and it's been in Pisces for maybe 6 to 8 years, I believe. But really emphasizing spiritual healing, and also a lot of wounding on our collective unconscious, to do with religion, to do with trauma, a lot of spiritual healing, because we're just exiting the age of Pisces, 2,000-year cycle, and I can tell you the delusion and deception in our society is unbelievable. The darkest sides of Pisces, for some reason, have been instilled. Like media is also ruled, and movies is ruled by Pisces, and I see this reality as a bizarre science fiction horror show quite often. Of course, that's the nature of reality. The dream and reality there's a blurry sense, because when we start awakening, especially with the transcendental planets, Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, and to a certain extent Jupiter and Saturn, we realize that reality is very much a part of our awareness, and how every action we take makes an effect. That's kind of Uranian. And Jupiter in Sagittarius, very much in his home sign of Sagittarius, is very much asking us about what is our truth, our individual truth, but the truth of society. Because it's been squaring Neptune, and that's a very interesting one, actually, because that's a mutual reception, I believe. Actually, it's not, but it's a mutual reception in the sense that Pisces traditionally was a ruler of co-ruler of Neptune. I don't know, how do I say this? Pisces was a co-ruler of Sagittarius and Pisces. Or is it? It's one or the other. But in any case, there's a connection, and the simplest way I can put it is that um, Sagittarius could be religion, and Pisces can be spirituality. Now they can go hand in hand. I mean, you can be religious and spiritual, or you can be spiritual without religion. But so the square is really this kind of conflict of what is our philosophy of truth, of our what we believe is a higher power, or is it the power just ourself, which would be kind of more that Leo moon. Jupiter in Sagittarius is quincunxing the North Node in Cancer, which is an awkward adjustment because North in Cancer is all about nurturing, being just that very basic sense of community with our family, and bonding, and not really needing to know the answer, because when we feel the connection of intimacy with others, that's all we need. That's the most important thing, that direct experience. But Jupiter really is always wants to expand. It always wants to learn more. It's like the teacher and the mystic, which, well, the mystic's kind of Pisces, but there's lots to that. Their North Node is squaring Uranus, has been for some time, and that's another. That the square is the challenge aspect, and I think that's a challenge because, just like I said, Cancer wants to kind of be in a bubble in a sense, which is good because if we need to focus on our family, our home, because that's really the foundation. That's why the Cancer is the IC, the opposite of midheaven, which is like our past lives, our home. But if we're too much, if we just stay in our home, we don't grow and don't want to evolve, we won't grow. And Uranus wants us to evolve, especially in Aries. It wants us to innovate, pioneer, just like start things with like that Aryan drive, just like go get Martian will. And I've really enjoyed this transit for 8 years of Uranus and Aries. It's conjoining my Jupiter now, really expanding my horizon, be creative, and because I'm all about evolution. I just see so much problems in society. I'm absolutely shocked by and I see Uranus as inspiring because it wants us to be innovative with ourself, because Aries is the self. If we have to change the world, Gandhi said, you want to change the world, be the change, yourself. So Uranus is it's been sextiling the sun. The sun just entered Pisces today, which is great. That's my home sign, and that's going to be the full moon tomorrow, which I won't really talk about because that's a whole other story. But yeah, let's see how long this is going on. Well, let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with just this short and sweet video. But yeah, the full moon's tomorrow, and that's going to be the sun opposing the moon in Virgo. Yeah, that's going to be a pretty interesting one. But yeah, I'll leave it for that today. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. This is Starseed Scotty, and aloha from Hawaii.